All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to get started here. I hope you all enjoyed your networking break, generously sponsored by Scotiabank. And it is now my pleasure to introduce our next keynote speaker. Our next speaker is Nalaine Morin. She's the Senior Vice President of Environment and Social Affairs for Skeena Gold and Silver. Nalaine, if you don't know her already, has extensive technical experience in both mining and environmental assessment processes and is well known for her work to build positive relationships that recognize the role of Indigenous nations in decision-making on Indigenous lands. Before Nalaine joined Skeena, she was the Lands Director for the Tahltan Central Government, and Nalaine has won numerous awards, including the 2021 Skookum Jim Award, the 2018 Indigenous Trailblazer Award, and the 2018 Aura Award. Nalaine also serves on the board of BC Hydro, and we are thrilled to welcome her to the stage to provide a keynote address. Let's give a warm welcome to Nalaine.
Chocholone Hotia, Nalaine Morin, Oshia. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nalaine Morin. This is the first time I've got an opportunity to attend IROC, so I'm really excited to be here. And just looking out at the audience, I see a lot of familiar faces, people I know. And last night I was talking to a friend and colleague, and he reminded me, he said, Nalaine, we've worked together for 15 years. He goes, and I remember 15 years ago, you saying to me, I want to build a mine. And, just hearing those words and thinking about kind of where I am today, I'm really, really excited to share that's exactly what we're doing. At Skeena Gold and Silver, we're building the Eskay Creek Revitalization Project, which we often refer to as 2.0 because we are revitalizing the original Eskay Creek mine, but I just wanted to start there. So I'm the Senior Vice President of Environment and Social Affairs at Skeena Gold and Silver. On behalf of Skeena, I am honored to connect with you all at this year's conference. I want to acknowledge that we are gathered on Tsuut'ina territory. It's a privilege to be hosted here in Nanaimo. The Eskay Creek project, has reached significant milestones, not just for Skeena, but for BC and the broader mining industry. The project has demonstrated the power of genuine partnerships with First Nations, engaging in meaningful conversations, and centering around decision-making, around free, prior, and informed consent, and advancing Indigenous rights. From the beginning of collaboration with the Tahltan Nation, we've made that a priority. Fast forward to today, as we look forward towards construction, we continue to work closely with the Tahltan Central Government to responsibly develop the project together. And I recognize that we attend, numerous conferences over the years, and quite often we hear, about the experiences that both companies, government and industry are having with regards to the work they're doing to advance reconciliation. I'm really excited today to share our story, or rather my story. Of course, forward-looking statements. So, just to quickly go over who we are, the Eskay Creek Revitalization Project is located in Tahltan territory in northwestern BC along Highway 37 and is fully owned and operated by Skeena Gold and Silver. We are headquartered in Vancouver, but we also have an office in Smithers and recently opened a subsidiary, Skeena Tatla Mining in Dease Lake. Our project, our main project, or flagship, is of course the Eskay Creek project. So since 2014, over $750 million has been invested in BC, with over 1,400 jobs created. We anticipate these numbers increasing as we advance into construction and operations. So Eskay Creek will primarily mine high-grade gold, along with a significant amount of silver. Eskay Creek also contains significant quantities of critical minerals like antimony, zinc, and copper, which are all key materials needed for modern technologies and a cleaner future. This makes Eskay Creek an important component behind helping Canada achieve its critical minerals strategy and a secured domestic supply chain. As you can see, and I'm sure many are familiar with, our permitting story is quite a unique one. And, you know, for us, it started in 2017, 2018, when Skeena started to acquire the Eskay Creek project. The leadership at that time, you know, made a significant commitment to working with the Tahltan Nation. And part of that work was recognizing and embracing what are the needs and the values of the nation. And through that level of understanding and collaboration, you know, they were able to do some really unique things. One, you know, Skeena at the time held some mineral tenure for what at the time was known as the Spectrum property. And the Tahltan Nation said to them much earlier on that because of where that project was located, they did not want to see development there. Skeena heard that, and together with a number of environmental organizations, were able to create what is today a jointly managed conservancy, right? So we were able to work with BC to take that mineral tenure off the books and convert it to something that we then returned back to the nation in our efforts, again, to support the work required for reconciliation. Earlier this year, Skeena, you know, we achieved a number of significant milestones through our permitting journey, right? These milestones include being the first company with the Tahltan central government to achieve what is consent under the Section 7 DRIPA legislation. So I remember, you know, meeting with the Tahltan central government as a representative for Skeena Gold and Silver. And, you know, it was one of the last conversations that we had that week that they were doing their determinations, asking those questions to finally get themselves to a decision, right? And I thought to myself, right, this is history in the making. Our people, our youth, are going to be talking about that. And I'm very proud to say I actually am the first company representative to have had that opportunity to work with my nation's government on what is consent, right? So definitely something that I will take away with me through the rest of my days. And, you know, if anyone, and I do know lots of people out there, but anyone knows me, they know that a lot of what drove me in my career was First Nations decision-making, the ability for First Nations governments to make decisions. So being part of seeing that happen and moving forward now into implementation is a significant milestone, not only for this company, the nation, and the province, but also for myself. So the other item that I would address here, two things for folks to take away. I know you're seeing a lot of different activity, and you're wondering, gee, I wonder all the time and the effort and the things that they did for each one of these various steps along the way. The takeaway for you to think about is to be creative and to embrace the opportunity to work with the First Nation, right? And sometimes, that looks like a change at the 11th hour where, a community now is all of a sudden available to work with you on specific things, right? It could mean, you're similar to what Skeena did. Like, we traveled across the BC on a number of occasions to make sure that we talked to as many Tahltans as we could, right? And then the feedback that we received had significant influence over not only our the conditions that were developed and now we live under, that were jointly developed with BC, but, had significant effect on how we're structuring our social affairs department and the commitments under our IBA. So right now the project is in construction. We're over 50% complete as of April 30th, 2026. There's a number of milestones that we've achieved over the past couple of months. So the dry and wet commissioning of the mine water treatment plant has been completed. The permanent lodge is on track for August occupancy. The processing plant has completed mechanical installation of all of its mill components. Open pit development is underway with materials mainly being used for construction, and full connection to the BC Hydro power grid is on track for the end of this year. So I've spoken to a number of things that we've done together with the Tahltan Nation, right? It's been a journey, and one that we certainly look forward to continuing in the work that we do today. One of the other things that I would say, specifically about Skeena and the uniqueness of this company is you look within the structure of the company itself, 21% of Skeena is Indigenous, and of that 21%, over 10% of those Indigenous people are in management roles, right? And so these individuals certainly play a role in the decision-making in each one of the departments that they are participating, that they're involved in. And it's made a significant difference in how we're structuring our governance, right? How we're structuring our teams and how we're moving forward. We've even had the opportunity to create what is Skeena Tahltan Identiteen, which is a Tahltan advisory group that supports the work that's happening at Skeena. And on site have created a very specific Tahltan environmental stewardship team. And again, to ensure that Tahltan values, Tahltan interests are having a positive influence over the work that we're doing. Through the IBA process, we went to a number of different communities and had the opportunity to meet with over 1,000 Tahltans. We had, 1,000, we had 77% support for the project, with a large number of the Tahltan voting membership being able to participate in the vote. I've run out of time, so I'm kind of rushing these last couple slides, sorry. right? We've also worked with a number of other nations through the work that we've done as well, right? So through our environmental assessment process, it needs to be said, included with the BC process, we also supported and embraced Nishka's process under Section 10 of their treaty, 8E and 8F, as well as Gitniau's WILP sustainability process, and the Tahltan central government's process under the Section 7 agreement. So we ran 4 parallel EA processes at the same time. I still need to talk to BC about ways in which we can be a bit more efficient, but I'll save that for another day. And now we're really focused on implementation, right? So it's implementation of the commitments we've made to each other under the Impact Benefit Agreement, right? The unique conditions that we see under our Mines Act, Environmental Management Act, and Environmental Assessment Certificate. These conditions are unique because both governments agreed to the language in these conditions, right? And so what that means for us is BC is not our only regulator. The federal government is not our only regulator. The Tahltan central government is a regulator of our project. Right? And, you know, just a few thoughts for folks to leave with. And I'm sure these are things that you've all heard before, right? The importance of making sure that First Nations knowledge plays a significant role in project development and design, right? Consent, or the concept or notion of consent, you know, led the work that we did starting from before the environmental assessment process. And consent is ongoing for us. It's not a checkbox, right? This is work that we are doing, real, true collaborative work with the Tahltan central government's, with the Tahltan central government and leadership. Right? And finally, just thinking about, right, making sure that we're looking at starting relationships, the importance of the relationships before moving forward, right? The importance of Indigenous knowledge, and thank you. Thanks for the extra 4 minutes.